Hey everybody, it's Old School Nerd. Happy Turkey Week here in the United States. Now, Thursday is Thanksgiving Day, so I will probably not be here live on stream at all. I'll probably have some recorded reactions for you guys to celebrate today, because not everybody celebrates Thanksgiving Day this week. It's really an American thing, and that's fine. But last year for Thanksgiving, I made a Cajun Asian style goose that was outstanding. I recorded how I made it, and I saved it all year to share with you this week. So if you guys want to make a goose for this holiday season, whether it be for Christmas time or during this week for Thanksgiving or even for the New Year's, try this one. It was outstanding. I'm going to show you all the little piece by piece steps. In fact, we go from beginning, the mise en place, all the way through the ending result. And I go step by step with all the ingredients. So are you ready? I mean, you're not, but I'm going to do it anyway. In the YouTube reaction system, certain videos must be reacted to by highly trained specialists. Unfortunately, we only have this idiot. We're going to talk about duck, and we're also going to talk about goose. Pretty much any type of waterfowl that you want to cook at home. Now, I have a particular way of doing it. Now, I know there's Christmas decorations behind me, and I'm doing this during the holiday season. In fact, this is actually Thanksgiving weekend for me. And I'm doing this for my kids and Chelsea and myself, and apparently the dogs if I drop any on the floor. But here we go. When you're talking about, everyone talks about doing a turkey for Thanksgiving, or a turkey for Christmas, or people roasting chickens all the time. Those are land birds, okay, which means they live on the ground, they eat ground things, so they have a tendency to be dry. Think about that. Turkeys, chickens live on the ground, therefore they are dry. Ducks and geese live on the water, therefore they are wet. If you keep that just simple thought process in the cooking realm, it's going to save yourself a lot of trouble. People doing turkey brines and soaking chicken in this brine and sugar mix to try to add moisture to the bird, blah, 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 blah. You do not have to add moisture to a bird that lives in the water. Ducks and geese have a tendency to be very, very fatty birds. So adding any type of moisture beforehand will probably backfire on you in the kitchen. So don't worry about that. Let's talk about the flavor. Now, I've done this with a duck before. This is going to be the goose that I'm going to do for my first time with you on this certain recipe. I've already purchased a goose. When you purchase your goose, you're going to need to thaw out your goose. Do it slowly in the refrigerator. Do not try to rapidly defrost this thing in the microwave or something. You're going to ruin the texture of the meat and possibly spoil it. Don't do that. Also, once you thaw out the bird, unless you buy it fresh from a butcher shop or a fowler, you're probably going to have to go into the cavity and take all of the other objects that are in there. There's going to be a neck, gizzards, liver, the whole 9 yards. Get all of that out of the bird, clean out the cavity. Once you've done all that, put the bird in the refrigerator wrapped in either parchment paper or wrapped in butcher paper, tied off to keep itself from leaking out, because it's a fairly large bird. That goes for duck or for a goose. Now, while that's sitting in the fridge, let's talk about the setup. Ready? This is what you're going to need. First off, you're going to need these accoutrements. You're going to need an orange, you're going to need an onion, you're going to need an apple, and you're going to need a green, red, or yellow bell pepper. Because I'm in South Louisiana, we're going to go with green. You're also going to need 8 cloves of garlic. Now, these items, these are your cavity items, and I'm just showing you them together because this is what you're going to stick up the turkey or the goose. I'm sorry, the goose or the duck. You can actually do this with turkey too. I'm not going to lie. The goose or the duck. Like a ventriloquist puppet. And if you make it talk, that's on you, Playboy. Now, here's the thing. You notice that this orange here looks highly violated. It's because it is. I've zested this orange. You're going to want to do that. And if you don't know how to zest an orange, there are plenty of YouTube videos to teach you how to zest an orange. Just do that. Put that off to the side. Put this together. Voila. Now, let's take these out of the way, because we're not going to be dealing with them until we actually stuff the bird. Now, this cook of a goose or duck, if that's what you have, is not going to be with stuffing inside of it. I always cook stuffing to the side and eat it differently. Some people try to put it in the bird. Unless you've done it before and you've practiced it and you know what you're going to do, that you hear all the stories. So this is just a straight up roast of a waterfowl without stuffing it. We're just putting those items I just showed you for aroma, for an inundated flavor on the inside of the cavity, and it's just fun to just throw stuff into the cavity of a bird before you throw it and put it into fire. It's just a very caveman thing to do. Now, the next thing you're going to need, we have our orange zest. We're going to put our orange zest over here to the side. Now, when you get your bird, okay, this is one of those, you hear people that use those injectors to inject flavor into turkeys and injecting flavor into chickens at times with those injectors. We do that here in Louisiana as well. In fact, we put some crazy stuff in birds. However, for this, you will not need to do that. A lot of the reason why people do that is because not only are they injecting seasoning into a turkey or a large fowl, but they're also trying to put moisture. We're trying not to do that. This one's going to be a very simple bake. Geese and ducks have a tendency to be very, very flavorsome in their meat without any of your help because of their diet. So less is more. Now, let's talk about some of the things that we are going to season it with. This is a way for you to save yourself a bunch of time, and I'm not joking, and I don't mean the herb, I mean actual physical time. This is just a roasted garlic herb seasoning mix from anywhere. I don't care if it's Mrs. Dash, Weber, McCormick. Everybody makes one. You can find it in almost every store. It's cheap, it's already pre-made, and it's already pre-proportioned. I like to get the one without salt because I want to know how much salt I'm putting in this recipe. So there you go. So you're going to need that. You're going to need, this is actually about a quarter of a cup. You don't need that much. 1 to 2 tablespoons of cracked black pepper, 2 tablespoons of salt, kosher salt, sea salt, whatever you like. Red pepper flakes. This is actually 1 teaspoon. We already talked about our orange zest. You're going to need some honey and a mortar and pestle. Now, this is my Pioneer Woman one. Anyway, okay, so let's start off, and the reason why we're doing all of this is this is going to be the rub we're going to put on top of the bird and under the skin. Okay? Now, normally people would be like, well, if you're rubbing all this stuff on the outside of the bird, how is it going to flavor the inside of the bird? There's a trick, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. So let's go step by step. First, we're going to add our roasted garlic mix. This is the unsalted version. I'm going to add half of those 2 tablespoons of salt into the mortar. I'm going to add half of that black pepper and all of the orange zest. Yeah, sometimes you just got to get freaky with it. Now, once you put that in there, you're just going to move this around. Now you're asking yourself, well, what about those red pepper flakes you got on the side right there? We'll get to them. So you're taking the zest of the orange, that orange infused flavor. You're taking the garlic, the herbs, taking that salt and that black pepper, and you're kind of making almost a paste mixture. Now, because most of this is granular, it's not going to want to stick together very well. Some people will use butter, fine. Some people will use margarine, fine. Remember what I told you about this bird being very, very wet? It's because it has a lot of fat underneath its skin, in the meat itself, in the joints, and on top of the skin itself that are going to render throughout. It's going to drip a lot. So the drier this is, the better. You just want it to stick together. If when you put all of this together, wow, it's like a volcano. If when you're putting all this together, if you want it where it's grainy but it doesn't seem like it's sticking together very well, like this kind of lumps together pretty good, what you can do is extra virgin olive oil, add just a small amount. A small amount. This will add just a little bit more of a sticking substance, sort of a liquid to kind of make sure it binds all together. Now when you're done, it should look something like this. It's just a mixture, a paste mixture. Now I'm going to take this paste mixture and I'm just going to put it off to the side. Now, you know it's stuck well. You know you've done a good job when you cannot get it off just by tapping it because it's sticking together so well. That's a good sign. And if I had a spoon, I would probably use it. But here we go. That's a little late for the spoon, but we're going to go for it. Spoon, please. Thank you. Thank you, beautiful assistant. Okay. So we're going to get all the rest of this out. Okay. Now that we have our pestle, I'm going to now do this little mortar is empty. It's got a little bit of residual in it, and that's fine. You're going to take your red pepper flakes, put them in there. This is a little secret thing I'm sharing with you for later. Now, once you've done that, go back to your orange that you zested. Cut that bad boy in half. Just squeeze that orange out. Get as much of the juice as you want. Get it out of there. If you have an orange juicer, it's even better. But here's the thing. I like to leave a little bit of that orange juice in there. There's a reason. Okay? I'm not throwing away the onion. Keep the onion, the orange. Wow, I have too many things that start with an O. If I had oregano in here, I'd be screwed. Take the orange that you've just squeezed, put it back in the bowl with your other items, because that's still going in the goose. Once you've done that, all you've done now is you've put a bunch of red pepper flakes into a mortar with orange juice. Okay, chemistry class, kids. If you put red pepper flakes in a citrus acid, what are they going to do? They're going to start to break down, which means they're going to start releasing that capsaicin, that heat. I'm taking the pestle, kind of grinding it in there to kind of help along, just opening up those seeds and pieces of the red pepper. Put this off to the side, and I'm just going to leave that alone. Now, okay, we've done all that messy work. So now we're going to take our little mortar and pestle. You have this sitting. This is going to sit. Okay. You've got your half of your black powder remaining. Black pepper. I do this every cooking stream, and I don't know why I do it. I think it's because it's explosive. Okay. Black pepper, half your salt, and that paste you made. Now here comes the next part. The next part, we get to actually play with the bird. Now, whether it be a duck or a goose, it doesn't matter. Both have the same flavor profile. One's a little lighter with the goose. One's a little bit more wild taste, gamey flavor with the duck. So the next part is we're going to introduce you to the bird. There's a few more items you're going to need to have, but I'll show them to you on the next section. I got to go get my bird now. I'll be back. All right. Oh, by the way, my favorite part of any Jim Carrey movie is in Liar Liar when he does this. It's a goose. Well, here's the goose, okay? Now we've dried it. We pulled all the nastiness out of it. Now, by the way, all those nastinesses are items you can actually use to make some of the most amazing French recipes of all time. So I don't like saying that it's trash. Check those recipes out on like Gordon Ramsay or some shit, people that know what they're doing. But this is the bird. He's been dried. He's kind of laid out in the sun getting a little bit of a tan, so we don't want to take too long. Now, one thing you're going to have to do with a goose or a duck especially, you should do it with pretty much all the birds that you're working with, but you want to feel the skin. Now, I know that seems a little weird, but trust me on this. And when your mom, significant other, girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, husband, whoever uses the tweezers in your house is not looking, steal them, clean them, and then as you're rubbing through, you're going to feel little pricks, okay? And when you feel them, you may need to take the tweezers, and in some case, if they're really, really large, pliers, and pull out the quills. Here's one right here. Here's a dark one I kind of left here earlier. And we're just going to pull that one out. And the reason why this happens is because as they're prepping these birds, sometimes the quills stay on and they don't come off. So you just want to pull those out. Alright, you don't want a quill in your mouth. Okay. And then you wash this and put it back where you found it. Preferably in the woman's hand you asked to borrow it from. Alright, here comes the fun part. First we're going to do is we're going to score the bird. Now what we're talking about scoring the bird is you're going to take a very sharp knife. This one a friend of mine made for me. And you're going to cut diagonal slices along the breast line and along the leg line. Now, when you're scoring a bird, I said scoring the bird, not slicing the bird. Okay? You want to cut just through the skin, maybe a little bit into the first layer of the flesh, but no deeper. Okay? Also, just a little hindsight note. You notice that we went off of my cutting board and we went onto what's called a bird carve board. Now, it looks like a cutting board, but if you look at it, it's got all these little channels and position points where you can lay a large fowl or any bird, really, whether it be waterfowl or grain bird, to where it'll sit in position. It has the grooves to hold any juices that come out to where you don't make a big mess. I suggest you get one. A lot of cutting boards, if they're larger, will have a bird board, a bird carving board on the other side. So that's what we're going to use. So let's do a little bit of prep work. A lot of people remove this part of the wing, so we're going to go ahead and do that. The best way to do that is to just find the joint, use your knife, turn it over on its side. I'm going to turn it so you can see me do it. Turn it on its side, and you're just going to pop through. You're just literally going to pop through that. And remember, it's a goose. It's not something that's really small. So once you cut it, you can just pop it, and it sounds horribly bad, but it's not, I promise. So once you get through that joint, come on through, put that to the side. Now you do it on both sides. Now the only reason why people remove this is because when they're making their turkey gravy or their goose gravy or their duck gravy or whatever gravy they're making, they just don't want the this wing part to go to waste. In the wing, there's not a lot of meat. It's just fat and bone marrow. So if you're doing your gravy, it is excellent for that. Pop the joint, come through. There we go. Now the other thing you want to cut out and pull out. Okay, this is the part that's really disgusting. Sorry, it just is. Remember when I told you that geese and ducks are extremely fat? This is what I'm talking about. There is unrendered fat in the ass of this goose. I mean, I like big goose butts, and I cannot lie. I mean, this goose has won 2 or 3 twerking championships in its time. But I just want to get all that out because that unrendered fat is just going to become a giant mess for you. All of that can really be pulled off. It does not have to be cut off. If it has to be cut off, just leave it alone. Okay, there's a reason why. Now, here we go. For those who are squeamish, you're not going to like this part, but this is all part of the work. Okay. When you core out a duck or a goose, there's going to be a long neck inside, but you'll notice that neck has no skin on it. That's because they left the skin on the bird. This is the neck skin. Okay. Go ahead and cut that off too. Oh. If Caroline was here right now, she'd be like, Dad, you're a savage. Okay, now, also, put that skin to the side. You notice I'm not just throwing anything away, I'm putting it into a bowl. All of these items, including that duck fat, if you take that duck fat and you render it down in a pan and just take that oil, that's what's referred to as rendered duck fat. When you see all these chefs on YouTube and on the cooking channel and the Food Network and all this other stuff, and they're talking, I'm going to base this in rendered duck fat because I'm a hoity-toity chef with millions of dollars of assets that I can just abuse from this TV network. That's what they're talking about. It's literally goose, duck fat they take out of a carcass, put to the side, they render it down with, I think it's like 120, 130 degrees, and it renders it down, it just becomes an oil, and it's like the most rich oil in the world, and then You can also buy it, so it's not like you have to save this, put it in a jar, and just tell your entire family, don't touch the duck fat in the fridge, I'm saving it for something. Don't do that. Okay, let's get to the next part. Okay, important parts of the bird. The wings, we already know about that. The legs, but probably the most important part of a duck or a goose is the butt flap. If you're a fan of Donald Duck, when he did the disco duck, when he shook his tail feather, don't cut that off. You're going to need that because, it looks like a drawbridge for a castle. That's exactly how we're going to use it, to bind up the bird to make sure anything falls out. Let's score the bird. So, like I said, I'm just going to make small slices, just through the skin. First layer, maybe 1 or 2. Now I'm done that side. Let me show you what it looked like. I'm just scoring the skin, just slightly, just a little bit. You can see where I've done it. Now you can see where I've scored through the, see, look how thick that skin is. It's ridiculous. But only like maybe like a centimeter, half a centimeter into the meat. So I'm just going to come through here, score this side, score this side. You're going to score the legs just a couple times. Now you'll know you've scored properly because the skin will split open. Because, let's be honest, this goose or a duck is a it's a really big knife to do this scoring on, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Anyway, so also flip her over. Do the thighs and the back, which are right next. They're not here, they're actually right close to the butt. We'll score here, just slightly. Score here, just a little bit. Okay, that's it. Now you've scored the bird. Okay, the next part, we're going to talk about stuffing. Now, this bird is prepped to be stuffed, wrapped, and rubbed. That's the next step. I'm going to say a prayer and we'll come back. Okay? Okay, prayer's done. Wow, it's a miracle. All of my inserting vegetables have been completely finished and carved. Okay, yeah, so remember those things that I told you about? While you're letting this thing dry out a little bit, carve them up into fourths, all of them. It'll help, trust me, okay? All right, here we go. Now we're gonna get this thing stuffed, wrapped up, and ready to cook. Now, stuffing the bird is super easy. First thing I like to do is take the bird up. I'm going to take the rest of that salt that I had. We're going to pop her up on her edge and do a little love in there. It's all going to sprinkle up on the inside. Let's put a little pepper up in her rear end. I know this is so hot. It's so hot. Okay. Next thing you want to add, throw an onion in there. Throw an apple in there. Throw one of those oranges in there. You know what? Let's get fancy with it. Let's put the apple in the squeezed orange. See, look. Man, it's like it just goes on and on and on. Some people say, people have asked me, hey, old school, do you name your birds when you cook them? And I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna know they're that long. So, anyway, that was so bad. I'm such a horrible person. Okay. Once you get as many of those, and the reason why I alternate them, one, then one, then one, then one, is because eventually you're going to run out of hole to shove things in. Pause for wretched Rob joke. Okay, pause for Chelsea maybe to ban Rob for the comment he just made. Alright, so now that all the adults are back in the video, you may run out of things here, and that's totally fine, and that's okay. We're going to do things like, okay, those cloves of garlic, they'll go really good in whatever's left because they're going to fall down to the bottom. Because I'm about to do something that's going to make you probably giggle. Ready? Just let it all shake down to the bottom. Yeah, it's okay, look. And people say disco's dead. Gosh. Okay. So we've put about as much into this bird as we dare. Okay, remember when I told you about that tail flap? This is where the tail flap's going to come into play. Because she's going to close up like this, and the way we're going to seal her is by tying the legs on top of that. So this tail is going to come up and we're going to tuck it up between the legs. See? So those who've chosen to tuck, this is how they do it. Tu Wong Fu, that's my shout out. I love me some John Leguizamo, some Wesley Snipes. Rest in peace, Patrick Swayze. Still one of my favorite movies. That and The Birdcage. Okay, speaking of bird cages, what we're going to do is you're going to do this tuck and cross method. And believe me, it's really the only way to get this done. So I'm going to dry my hands real quick because they get a little juicy when you're dealing with a fresh bird like this. Okay. Binding this bad boy. I use crafting wire specifically for floral arrangements, and there's a reason why. It's metal, it doesn't melt, it's super thin and easy to work with, but the other reason, it cuts with the simplest of scissors. Super strong, but yet it's easy to get off. So whenever you go to carve the bird and you release everything, you just cut the wire, it all falls apart. So, here we go. We're going to tuck this like this, okay? I'm going to drop this wire just underneath here, okay? Just underneath, okay? And I'm going to cross it. Take this and I'm just going to cross it. And best part about wire is once you do this, all you got to do is spin it. Because it's wire, you don't have to like tie it with a knot. It's literally cable, okay? Once we've done that, let that go. Let's bring these legs up. We're going to cross the legs. I'm going to bring one over the top of this. And I'm going to bring the other one around the other way. Okay. Now you want to do them. Now, this is just the first tie. Okay. Once you get them tied, there is a way to make it tighter. You ever had a kid put the finger on the tie, the first crossover tie on a shoe, put the finger there so someone else can do the rest of it? I've literally just done that here. Now it's not going to go anywhere, so I can take the next piece of wire, uncoil it. Now we're going to get it. We're going to make sure she stays tucked. Okay. I didn't say that out loud, did I? Okay, so I'm going to cross these up a little bit. And I'm going to take this wire and I'm just going to go super tight with it. Okay, and then you just want to bind it out. Okay, the insides are not going to come out now. The rest of the bird we need to do, because these wings will literally, I mean, we don't want her flying out. I mean, that's just not a good thing. It's not a good look. It's not a good thing for the neighbors to see your front door blow open and a duck with its tail tucked between its legs. That's where that comes from! Oh my God! It's true. Okay. Hobbling out of your house with its wings just flopping everywhere. It's not a good look. Okay, so we're going to lift up the carcass. Okay. Slide this wire underneath. Along the two wings. Bind it super tight. And we're just going to cross it. You can do 2 or 3 of these. It doesn't take that much. Now, there's a reason why I'm binding my bird so tightly. Okay? A lot of you will not have this reason, but I do. Okay? This right here, she's stuffed and she's bound up. Now, we're about to do the rub and the actual placement into the oven or the cooking surface that you intend to use. That's going to come up next. But just for a few moments, I'm just going to marvel in my handiwork and realize how dirty I feel inside. I'm going to go wash my hands. I'll be back. Alright, this is it. This is the end of it. Now, I'm about to rub this bird down, and while I'm rubbing the bird down, I want to explain to you guys just a few little things that you may not be aware of. Now, we talked a little bit about how to prep the bird, how to do all these other things. You know what we never talked about? How to cook the damn thing. Well, I'm going to give you a little hint, a little secret for myself, and that is this. I use a rotisserie when I cook. So the reason why I bound my bird up so much is because it's going to be in a rotisserie for probably about 2 hours. So those of you who are not going to be rotisserieing your bird, You're just going to be putting it in a roaster. That's fine. I'm going to help you out with that too. For the roaster, you're going to cook this bird. It's going to be 15 minutes per pound, and your oven's going to be at 375 degrees. If you want a nice searing skin on the top of the bird, once you put it in the roaster breast up, what you can do is go at 425 degrees for the first 20 minutes. That's going to give you a crispy exterior. Then flip the bird in the roaster, okay, and drop it down to 375 and cook it through 15 minutes for every pound. This is a 10-pound bird. This is at least 2.5 hours. Because I'm using a rotisserie, mine's going to be a little different. And the best way that we can all wind up on the same page at the very end is one of these. Get you a good meat thermometer. You want to be at least 160 degrees in the leg joints, where the leg meets the thigh, along the breast, and in the back core where the thigh meat is. You want to be at a 160 in all those spots. The best way you know you're going to do that is to make sure you keep your bird flipped. Now, some people use a drip pan. Some people let this bird sit in its own juices in the pan. You could do it either way. Once you flip it over the first time and let it go for an hour with the breast side down, you're going to need to flip it back so that back side can cook really well sitting in the juices. If you want to use a drip pan where you have like a basket in the bottom of your roaster to where it doesn't sit in its juices, that's fine. People usually don't do that with a turkey because it'll dry out. But with a goose or a duck, the odds of you drying this sucker out, probably not possible. So now comes the fun part for me. I get to actually skewer this bird to put it in my rotisserie. Now, this is not an easy prospect because it is a very, very large bird. Going through the cavity as such, line this bad girl up. It's another reason why I use the, it's another really huge reason why I use this bird board, because I want to make sure that when she comes out the other side, she is lined up. Okay, so we're just going to do this. She's slightly off kilter. I'm going to kind of skewer her around. She's going to come out the back side. Come on. Now, to get this on here, may have to squish her down just a little bit, but that's part of using a rotisserie, because rotisseries are only a certain size. When you're setting the bird on a rotisserie, if you're doing a rotisserie, if your cabling starts to get a little loose, just twist it up. Just twist it up. She'll get in there. Okay, now I'm going to take this, put this link on top, and once I do that, I'm going to put these legs in. Don't worry, I'll get her on there. It's not my first goose. It's not my first rodeo either. Okay, so that's pretty much a goose on a spit. Now, to get her into my rotisserie, I'm going to have to make a few adjustments on the legs. I can do that on my own. Once you get her in the rotisserie or the roaster, you're going to let her run for, like I said, 15 minutes for every 2 hours. Okay, so it's going to be about 2 hours before we come back and talk again. But then remember I said to put that orange juice and the red pepper, leave it in the mortar and pestle and let it soak. You're going to let it soak the whole time this thing is cooking. And get you some local honey, because the last step before we end this bird is the secret to the happiness of this bird. Again, I don't have a name for her, but if I could come up with a name offhand, I'd say, I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe Lizzo. She kind of tick like that. Which is fine for me. It's the way I like it. All right, guys, let's get this thing in the oven. Ready? Let's go. Oh, I forgot my bird. Hold on. Let me get the bird. Hey, everybody. Okay, so she's out. Not only is she out, she's at 170 degrees in all our spots. At 2 hours, I started glazing her. And yeah, the glaze is working just perfectly. It's going to be sticky, sweet with a little heat on there. Removed her out, now she's just resting. Remember what I told you about the wire? I just snipped the wires. I left a little wire here so you could see. Little snip, comes right off. Clean as a whistle. Now, Before you carve the bird, let her rest, and also take a large spoon or a large serving fork and go ahead and get out all the stuffing, the onion, the pepper, the orange, and the apple out of the cavity so you can have it there. At that point, if you want to, that's when you would put in your already pre-cooked baked stuffing. Some people like to do that just for the aesthetic. Don't have to do that. It's easier to not serve it in the bird. So anyway, once she rests for about 10-15 minutes, you can start carving her. She still has about a lot of steam coming off of her right now. I don't even know if you guys can see that on the camera, but if you could, it's amazing. Now, on the bottom of my roaster, I have about this much of the rendered fat and the juices out of the bird. You can cook that down and make a turkey gravy with that. Some people will use that to make as a heavier substance, like a broth almost, to engorge into like a rice dish or a potato dish. You can do that. That's totally up to you. There's many ways you can use it. But this is my goose. Now, of course, this goose is done for Christmas time, but you can do this one any time of the year. Remember, the exact same way of cooking this can be done with a duck. Just reduce your portion sizes because you can't fit all the things that I put into this goose into a smaller duck. So I'm going to start getting this going here. I have to keep myself from doing little pinches and eating things off of it. So hope this video was okay. I hope this one was easy to go through. It's a big project, but I think you can do it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And as always, if you have an idea for a recipe, or you want to share a recipe that you have and you want me to do it on this channel but in my style to give you some honor for it, let me know. My name is OldSkuleNerd, and this is Cajun Anywhere, and this is the roasted goose. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like. It really helps the channel grow. Also, if you want to subscribe, right there. Big thank you to all my Patreons out there. We appreciate everything you do. If you want more content like this video, check them out above. Remember, love one another, take care of each other. We're all stuck on this mud ball together. We'll see you later.